Koe, Medolo Teo. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Ward. It's an honor to be here today. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from Unama'ki, one of 7 districts of the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by treaties of peace and friendship, which the Mi'kmaq and Wolastoq people first signed with the British Crown in 1725, then signed again in 1726 in Halifax. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands or resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoq title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Where we all sit and where we all come from, if you're in Atlantic Canada, anywhere in New England state, you are in our territory. And we are all treaty people. I want to start with a prayer. As I lit this smudge, this sage, send good prayers and good energy in all your directions. And this prayer, I want to share with you in our language, but also I'll translate it as I go along. Let us honor the people we are. Nigamastut apmawidanich. My people, let us unite. Let us honor our ancestral lineage. Nigamastu abunamawidanich. My people, let us help one another. Abunamawidanich dan gisu deli iligal sus ula usit amu. Let us help one another the way our Creator has placed us here on Mother Earth. With that as an opening prayer, it also is the words to a very beautiful song known as the Honor Song. And a song is a prayer and a prayer is a song. And it's so important to understand that and to remember that. And when you hear that heartbeat is the heartbeat of Mother Earth, that drum. It's very sacred, sacred to all nations. All nations have a drum. All nations have an honor song. It was an honor for me to share that with you guys in a good way and to light my sage in a good way and send prayers to everybody here in a good way. So I pray what is said here is said and it comes from our heart and we share it in a nice way. Walalio, Sitnogama, Taho. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jeff. It's been great getting to work with you in the recent months at Love, and you the same vibe you're bringing here, you bring to all of our team meetings. So thank you for that. And excited to have this event tonight. Excited to have everyone here. If you don't mind, just comment in the chat where you're joining us from. If you're in Halifax, if you are in Cape Breton, want to have a sense of where people are joining us from in the chat. Alberta, wow. Yeah. Millbrook First Nation, Brennan. Hey, Brennan. Cape Breton. Awesome. So, this conversation is being recorded. As the audience, I believe you see whoever's speaking. And so I think you're seeing me now. Thank you all for joining tonight. Really excited to have this conversation, this youth-led discussion about sustainable development and to connect with youth organizations in Mi'kmaq who are doing great work, who have elements of sustainable development woven into the work that they do. And so to start, I'll share my screen and I'll just briefly go through sort of what we have planned for the event today so that we're all on the same page. I'll go full screen. Okay. So we are starting with an introduction to the session, which I'll do in a moment. We've got our youth presenters who will present about the organizations. We'll have a panel discussion after that, sort of creating a space for the youth presenters to talk to each other. I have some questions for them. I'm going to have some questions for them. They may have some questions for each other as well. So we want to create some space to have a conversation. And then we're going to chat a bit about the Sustainable Development Goals Act. And so we have someone from the province who's here to share with us what it is that they do about this, what it is that the Sustainable Development Goals Act is. And so I should start by introducing myself. My name is Alfred. I'm joining you here from Halifax, Tuktoyaktuk, and I'm the founder of Tribe Network. And so Tribe Network is a social enterprise. And what we aim to do is to build capacity in BIPOC entrepreneurs and innovators and youth, and working with youth as well. So we, through our mandate, we develop programs, capacity building initiatives, and we've also developed an online platform that allows BIPOC folks across Canada to connect with each other virtually and to connect with service providers, organizations across the country. I'm also a manager at LOVE Nova Scotia, and so I recently joined their team as manager of innovation and leadership. So really excited about that work and that team. We have some great things in store. I'm also the curator for Collective Action Movement. So I think some of you might know what that is, but essentially built this advocacy tool that allows citizens to write letters to their local elected officials and take action on issues that they care about through digital means. And I'm also an advisor. I sit on the Prime Minister's Youth Council, and I've worked with organizations like Engage Nova Scotia, Develop Nova Scotia, measuring quality of life, placemaking activities, and definitely connected to sustainable development. So what is the purpose of this event? We're here to give youth a voice, give youth a platform to share what it is that they're doing and how they're creating impact. We're here to learn a bit more about the Sustainable Development Goals Act. And I think at the end of it, there is an opportunity where we can mobilize people to actually take action on the Sustainable Development Goals. So for those of you who don't know what the Sustainable Development Goals are, it's 17 goals that the UN created in collaboration with several different, I think over 193 countries would have been a part of creating the Sustainable Development Goals. They had government working on developing these goals, and they also had a consultation with community groups and leaders around the world, and they landed on 17 goals. And I'll show you the 17 goals in a minute. But before I do, I wanted to highlight a quote that I love from Barack Obama. And this was a quote that he mentioned actually while he was speaking at a SDG event. And he said that most human progress is driven by young people who ask the question, why can't we do something different? And so, we're here because a few young people said, why can't we have a conversation about sustainable development? And, let's just do it. We don't have to ask permission. We're just going to do it. And I think young people need to be a part of the conversation. When it comes to sustainable development goals and changes that are happening in our society, young people need to be leading and a part of the conversation. So these are the 17 goals of the Sustainable Development Goals. And at the end, we will have a presentation from someone who works with the province of Nova Scotia, who will share with us how we can engage with the province on the Sustainable Development Goals Act. But for the main event, we will hear from youth. And so we have youth from LOVE Nova Scotia, youth from Hope Blooms, and Digital Mi'kmaq as well. And we also have a young person joining us from Mexico with an organization called Culturans. And so super glad to have these young people on board. And I'm going to introduce our first speaker, and that is Shantae Rose. We haven't met yet in person, Shantae, but I've been watching you through the Conversations for Change that LOVE hosts every month, and I've spoken to her on the phone and really love the work that she does. And I believe I'm meeting her for the first time in person tomorrow night. So I'm really excited about that. But I'll pass it over to Shantae to tell us a bit about herself, the work that she's been involved in at Love Nova Scotia. So over to you, Shantae.
Hello, I was not expecting to go first. Thanks for the heads up. I am terrible at this presenting thing, so I'm gonna just talk. I've been a part of Love now for 12, I think, going on 13 years. What Love stands for is leave out violence. And a lot of people ask, why is it love when there's no E? We say the E at the end of love is also the E at the end of violence. We want to end it. We want to bring an end to it. So with that, we look at, where do we start? We start with the youth, because youth are the ones that are being affected the most, and they drive our future. So we are a youth-based program that is now turning into a youth-led program and organization that we are now hiring past Love Youth, past Love alumni, to be our youth workers and our program facilitators. And we're creating programs to help create change that we want to see for our future generations. So right now we have our entry level program, which is the Media Arts Program, or MAP. And that's where we bring in our youth that are 12 to 13. That's where they start out. That's where they learn and they figure out what they want. We always entice with food. Our first thing is you get food when you come in, and you get bus tickets when you leave. That way you can get home and come back. So we always want to feed you and make sure you're happy, send you on your way. And then after that, we have our leadership program, which is the next step. It's when you kind of come into yourself, you've shown that you have more personal growth than external growth to show everybody else. You're working on you as a person and developing who you are. And that generally can happen within a year. It could happen with 6 months. It just depends on the youth. I know we had one youth not become a leader until they were 21. So that's just, we work with our youth no matter the age. After that, we have our Conversation for Change, which is something that I host. It is where we talk to many different people from different walks of life and different areas of life with different abilities and who they are and what kind of power they have, and what it is having uncomfortable conversations to invoke a comfortable change that we all want to see and that we all need. And that, yes, you will be meeting me tomorrow. We have a show tomorrow. So if anybody wants to watch, go to lovenovascotia.ca and you can see a little plug for myself. Hi. Other than that, we are now creating programs to help our youth with housing, financial security, food security, and basically seeing what we need in our community and adding as we need it. So that's what we do at Love, and that's what we are.
Amazing. Thanks, Shantae, and love the plug. I'm also going to plug a link to the website where people can tune into Conversations for Change, because it's awesome. So thank you for that. I do have some questions for you, but we'll wait till the panel. And next up is Kalade. And so Kalade is a founding member and manager of social innovation currently at Hope Blooms. I got to meet Kalade for the first time, I think last week, and we had a great time. We got to know each other. He's from Nigeria, so we won't hold that against him. I'm from Ghana, so there's a bit of a love-hate relationship with Ghana and Nigeria when it comes to who cooks the best rice and who's better at soccer. But Kalade is a great young man, and I feel like we're family. And so Kalade, over to you to share with us a bit about yourself, what you do at Hope Blooms, the impact you guys have. Over to you, buddy.
All right, sweet, man. Okay, I have a whole presentation lined up for this, so I'm gonna share my screen and we can get started.
Great.
Okay. I can't wait. It says I can't share my screen. It's disabled.
Oh no.
So if not, I could just talk. That's okay.
So I do have your presentation though, right? So I can bring it up.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Okay, I'll just tell you when to kind of like switch the slides.
Okay.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Kalade. I am 21 years old. As kind of like Alfred said, that little introduction did for me. I am a manager of social innovation at Hope Blooms. I am also a co-founder of a record label based in Halifax, Nova Scotia called LDN Records Inc. So I'm gonna start off. LDN Records Inc. was built in 2018 by me and my best friend. Our whole goal is to kind of change the way music is kind of ran in Nova Scotia and try to influence it and try to like innovate it in a way that can move it forward and be inclusive. Okay, enough of that. Starting for Hope Blooms. So Hope Blooms was founded in 2008 by Jesse Jollymore, which we began with a little small plot right in downtown Halifax. And that small plot has kind of grown into a youth-driven movement with over 60 youths from diverse ethnicities. So we start off with like 1,200 square feet of organic food gardens, where our youth kind of grow their food for their community members and mentor over 60 community members in our garden plots. We also have an award-winning greenhouse that's completely off the grid, designed by me and my friend Bokar. We designed this, was done in 2014, I think. So we were like pretty young. It was a pretty interesting kind of like opportunity to have. And with that, I guess I'll kind of move forward. So Hope Blooms engages vulnerable youth in marginalized communities in creating collaborative, innovative environments that foster empowerment, resilience, and inclusiveness and have a potentials actualized. Our youth-driven programs of social enterprise help disrupt the poverty cycle through experiential education. Within the context of sustainability impact for generational change, youth join Hope Blooms when they are 5 years old and then graduate when they're usually 18 years old. As me, I'm an alumni. I went through this kind of process. It's a very amazing process to go to. So which each year after you graduate, you're entered into a scholarship for where you can receive proceeds from our salad dressing. You want to change the slide? Oh, we're good. Top slide 2 is perfect, actually. So now I'm gonna jump into our Hope Blooms core values. So Hope Blooms core values is very around youth growing to be inclusive and impactful community leaders. With more than 70 youth growing over 3,000 pounds of food each year, which I think is more this year. I think since we've expanded our garden, we're able to kind of grow like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 around that range, pounds of organic food. Another part of our values, we like to foster culturally relevant and collaborative ecosystems with integrity. And moving on, we also have an innovation in food and urban agriculture education, which we are very hands-on skill building in culinary and urban agriculture. And last, we have a co-action. We have created a social entrepreneur environment where people, regardless of age or social economic status, can work together to build capacity employment while giving back to the community. And this is all done with the youth. As I say, like we start very early, as the age of 5, and this whole kind of process kind of like integrated with the youth from ages 5 to 18. We'll go to the next slide, Alfred. Thanks. So I'm gonna talk about our social impact. So in 2019, Hope Blooms, which is very funny actually, we were named United Nations Ambassador for the Sustainable Development Goals. So pretty much what we're kind of having this whole conversation about. So with that, we took on a set of goals. And with the first set of goals we took on was goal number 2, which is kind of like talking about zero hunger, and goal number 3, which is kind of relating with good health and well-being. So with that, this year we've expanded our garden from 1,200 square feet to 10,000 square feet. And this is all in downtown Halifax. So this allows us to grow over 3,000 pounds of food, more than 3,000 pounds of food each year, which the families who are families and the family members who are part of Hope Blooms get to kind of take home for free of charge. Nothing, there's no like, nothing to kind of like, you have to do anything in return for it. It's just all free of charge. We grow and they can take it. And okay, so no stopping there. We also meet this goal with our improved nutrition and sustainable agricultural approach, which we run on our community food hub. So with that, on a monthly basis, we serve over 300 healthy meals and 350 healthy snacks to community members in the city. We also have a farm exchange program throughout the Annapolis Valley that involves us collaborating with farmers. So we assist the farmers with their CSA, which is a community supported agriculture, and in return, we receive organic produce that we can kind of deliver weekly to food literacy cook to 30 Syrian families in the community. So we also, Hope also creates and delivers food literacy cooking skills training workshops. This consists of a monthly community supper, which every member and family is kind of invited to. We have a nice sit down supper outside. Then come down, each month is themed. So like one month we might have like an Afrocentric theme, we might have like an Asian theme, and then we kind of make food and kind of sit down and really share the experience of getting to eat these meals together. With that is also a weekly free soup delivery with our seniors, where like the soup is made from the food that's grown in the garden, and the youth prepare that and kind of give it to the seniors. It's a little fun fact. Our research was completed for us last year, done on us last year, and it was stated that 100% of respondents, people kind of like members of Hope Blooms, indicated that they believe that having a plot in Hope Bloom's garden has increased their ability to provide healthy foods for their families. So this kind of goes back to kind of the sustainable goal number 3, I believe, so of the good health and well-being. We really believe that's a powerful thing to kind of have and kind of like empower our members to have. Okay, so kind of on to the last slide here. So next set of sustainable goals we took on were goal number 4, which is quality education, and goal number 13, which is climate action. So to kind of like meet these kind of goals, Hope Blooms, all of our youth programs, all the youth from Hope Blooms have graduated and will end up in post-secondary and 10 universities in Canada and the United States. We believe education is an important foundation for kids. With that, in 2016, 4 of our youth received a Master Organic Garden certification, which they were the youngest in Canada to receive so, and it accounted for as a university credit for them. So when they go into post-secondary, that's something they can kind of like apply to that. So we believe through experiential learning and providing an engaging experience to Hope Blooms that we can create kind of like foster open minds and kind of foster a different mindset of thinking. So with that, this year and last year, we started a new program called the SEED program. And it's kind of spelled out capital S, capital E, capital lowercase d. And it kind of stands for Social Engagement and Education Program. So this program is kind of has an agricultural component, an art component, and a nutrition component that span over 8 weeks. This program, our members, our youth are involved in, and recently we just added 60 Nova Scotian youth through connecting with Annapolis Valley, connecting with the school board to kind of, I guess, widen this program's range and kind of get the program out there. So we believe growing food in inner cities is one of the most therapeutic and climate conscious way of contributing to our world. Plus, you get blueberries out of it. So I also want to say thank you for allowing me to kind of have this conversation and present Hope Blooms. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Thanks, Kalade. Really appreciate that. I've also got some tough questions for you, so you just wait. All right, so next up is Alexa. Alexa and I go way back. She's a good friend of mine, and she's also an incredible leader. Alexa holds a BA from St. Thomas University with a double major in communications and public policy, and a double minor in political science and gender studies. During her time as a student at St. Thomas University, Alexa sat on the Indigenous Student Representative Committee. She was the chair of the Indigenous Reconciliation Community and held a seat on the Senate Committee for Reconciliation. That's due. Alexa currently works in community engagement and outreach for Digital Mi'kmaq. Alexa, welcome. And yeah, I would love for you to share with us a little bit about yourself, the work that you do, and at Digital Mi'kmaq, what are you guys up to?
Hi, Alfred. Were you on my LinkedIn? Did you get that from my LinkedIn?
Yes.
No. Hi, everybody. Madalotio. Nin Louise Alexa Metallic. Leo Iges Begawagi ak Wigi Javokto. Skegi Bunai John Non. Elue Digital Mi'kmaq ak Edelginama si Indigenous Governance. Waldasi Upjit Wigumwen. Walalio. So hi everybody, my name is Alexa Metallic and I'm from Listugush Mi'kmaq First Nation, which is in Gespegawagi, another one of our districts in Mi'kmaqi. I currently live in Jabukduk, otherwise known as Halifax. I'm 25 years old and I work, as Alfred said, in community engagement and outreach for Digital Mi'kmaq. I'm so excited to be here with everybody. I'm excited to learn and I'm excited to share about some of the work that we're doing. So I'll just kind of dive in. I have some notes. I don't have a presentation, but so let's just get started. Digital Mi'kmaq, we're a program under Olmec Education Center, and we aim to create lasting foundational change for a new generation through the interplay of science, culture, education, and digital skills. We launched in 2018. So we're fairly new, but since then we've provided over 1.6 million in resources. We've built 13 community-based digital maker labs across Nova Scotia, and we're working to expand that throughout the Atlantic. And we've reached over 14,000 youth through our in-school STEM curriculum, events, and programs. So we're really proud of the work that we've been able to do in this short amount of time. Our approach to our work is centered in Edewaptumum, commonly known as Two-Eyed Seeing. And Two-Eyed Seeing is a framework that was developed by Dr. Albert Marshall. He describes it as learning to see from one eye with the strengths of Indigenous knowledges and ways of knowing, and learning with the other eye through mainstream knowledges and ways of knowing, and to use both of these eyes together for the benefit of all. And so I'm especially excited to be here in this conversation about sustainable development, because I really do believe that Edewaptumum is the perfect framework to guide us as we dive into this transformative work. So if you're not familiar with him, to any of the people watching, I encourage you to learn a bit about his work. So I'm just going to do a kind of like a quick summary of programs and services that we currently offer at DM. So we have project-based science, which encourages youth to familiarize themselves with various STEM concepts and to design and develop solutions in order to address local and global issues. So our target audience for that are students from grade 7 to university. I do want to say too, like a lot of our programs hit different age groups, but we work with kindergarten to university. So I just wanted to note that. We have our digital maker labs, as I'd mentioned. So we have 13 currently across Nova Scotia that are filled with a variety of resources. And they provide communities with the resources to participate more equitably in the digital economy. We have our enriched STEAM curriculum that focuses on introducing students and educators to the core fundamentals of coding, robotics, big data, animation, artificial intelligence, web development, and 3D modeling. Prior to COVID, we brought in a lot of guest speakers from across Canada and Mi'kmaq. So one of those was Douglas Cardinal, but because of COVID, we had to kind of pivot and start doing them online. So if you get the chance, I encourage you to check out our social medias and our website to see some of the great work that Wonung across Mi'kmaq and across Mi'kmaq are doing, because there's a lot of really great, great work going on right now. We have our special programs, I like to call them. So we have our COVID response, where we manufactured PPE and distributed it across Canada. And two of the programs that I kind of wanted to highlight in our discussion today was our community garden project and backyard science, just because I do think that like they're a true embodiment of sustainable development. So our garden project was launched earlier this fall. First and foremost, it was to increase the quality and accessibility of healthy, locally grown foods for our communities. But some more focuses that are especially important to me are on Indigenous food sovereignty. So food sovereignty is the inherent right for people to define their own food systems. But as a nation, as Mi'kmaq, as Indigenous people across the globe, I think the word sovereignty holds a little bit more weight too, just because it's our method to returning to our original instructions as Mi'kmaq, and it's something that we have to keep alive in our everyday actions. So something as simple as harvesting our own foods, our own traditional medicines, asserting our rights to fish or hunt. It's really encompassed in this project. So I'm really, really proud of this project. I'm proud of our team that's leading this. It's also working towards the creation of green jobs, the increased consumption of local food, and increased local food production. So we're going into like our second phase of this program right now, where actually I should mention where we're doing it. So we're doing it right now, 5 communities across Mi'kmaq. And so the communities are Budladek, which is otherwise known as Chapel Island in Unama'ki, Lennox Island in PEI, Eel River Bar, New Brunswick, Annapolis Valley, and Yabugek. So we're hitting pretty much all of the provinces in the Atlantic. And within these communities, we're developing greenhouses, food centers, and gardens. And the greenhouses are really cool too, because I'm learning so much. I have an arts degree, so I don't know too much about sciences, but coming into DM, I've had the chance to learn a lot about that. So we're using climate batteries to actually run those greenhouses. And yeah, so right now we're moving into our second phase of the program, where we're working with Dalhousie Agricultural Campus to provide education to all 5 communities on how they can maintain these gardens and yeah, just keep working towards food sovereignty as a nation. And so the next one I wanted to talk about was backyard science. This is a really great one. This was created in response to COVID-19. Like the rest of the world, DM was trying to reimagine the ways that we fostered learning in our communities. So in 2020, we launched Backyard Science, Learning the Only Way, which is an interactive physical science series of 9 different editions. I won't go through all of the editions, but they're free. They're on our website. I encourage you all to take a look at that. They're in alignment with all of the provincial outcomes. And yeah, I just think it's really great because backyard science, it presents a new framework for accessing education and repositions Indigenous knowledge as a central field of knowledge by interweaving both of these knowledge systems. So that two-eyed seeing concept, like I said, it's free. It's for everybody. It's not just for Mi'kmaq students. And we, like I said, we launched it in 2020, and we've already reached, I think, over 100,000 educators and students across Canada. So yeah, within these editions, you can find traditional knowledge, you can find songs, you can find there's activities in there. It really does encourage students to go into their backyards and become thought leaders in an outdoor setting. So yeah, that's all I have for right now. And thank you for asking me to be a part of this. We're really excited to be able to kind of learn and highlight the work that we're doing.
That was great. No, thank you, Alexa, for the work that you're doing, and there's clearly impact. So yeah, thank you and the team at Digital Mi'kmaq for the work that you guys are doing. Also going to have some questions for you later, so going to test your knowledge.
Don't make them too hard.
You'll be good. You'll be good. So our next presenter is Juan, and so Juan is from Mexico, and Juan and I connected just a few months ago when he was, reaching out from Mexico as one does to find organizations to partner with in Canada. And so Juan and his team do a lot of community development projects, and what I found really fascinating about their work is a lot of it's youth-led, or a lot of it centers youth in sort of discovering community development. And so super excited for this. And yeah, Juan, we're so happy you could join us from Mexico. Now, I know that you have a presentation.
Yes, I do.
So what I can do is, oh, look at that. I just discovered the tool that allows me to let you share.
Amazing. Great.
Sorry, yeah, Kalade, earlier on we couldn't get you to share, but Juan, I think you should be able to share now. Can you try?
Okay, let me just try it.
Who can start sharing? Yep, you should be able to share.
Okay, give me a second here.
Sure.
Okay, I don't know if you guys can see a blank screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I managed to do it. Okay, so first of all, thanks to Alfred and to everyone for having us here tonight, this evening. We're very excited to sharing the work that we have been doing here in Mexico and in other places of Latin America and in Asia also. with you guys. We've seen some of the work that you've done already online, and we really love it. So, and I also think that we have a lot of things in common. So also, I want to say, I want to excuse myself in advance for my English. If anyone doesn't understand anything or something, please just raise your hand and ask again. I can clarify. And the second thing I wanted to apologize is the length of the presentation. You went pretty fast through your whole presentation. So I have quite a bit more of slides here. So just bear with me. I hope it's not too long, and I hope you find it interesting. So yeah, my name is Juan, as Alfred said. I'm the head of social business development here in Culturans. I also have other hobbies that involve cinema and stuff like that, but my main work is focusing into this. So I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about Culturans, about our story, how we began. So yeah, we all know that, and we have felt all the consequences of COVID-19 as this first wave of challenges that approach us really rapidly. And challenges like climate change or social and economic challenges. And actually, some of these challenges have been around for a long time now, and have been felt really strongly in places like Latin America, where unfortunately many people don't have the support or the tools to overcome those challenges. So this is how Culturans was born a few years ago. When we started wondering if there could be a new way in which we could build cities and communities. So we basically started asking ourselves, what if, despite our differences, people can work together? What if we can actually work alongside nature? And what if we can use art as a solution for these contemporary challenges? But most importantly, what if we can build better communities that can address and solve those challenges? So this is the aim of Culturans, to create ideas and projects that build communities. The idea is to empower local pride and leadership in the people inside of those communities. We focus communities so that they can develop sustainable solutions to face these social, environmental, and economic challenges. We also want to really put to use the energy and creativity of youth by setting them at the core of our whole process of all of our projects. So what we do is we build communities for everyone through youth. And the way we do it is through a set of experiences and actions that utilize art and innovation. So how do we do that? At its core, Culturans holds a unique model and methodology, which we have built from years of experimentation and evaluation. So this methodology acts as a system that is surrounded and empowered by the union of different spheres where the work of Culturans take place. Things like sustainable development, community building, capacity building, education, social entrepreneurship, community engagement, and of course, art and creative industries. And so our goal is to take place the best of these worlds, to create alongside communities, the new from the many. So that being said, let me tell you a little bit about our two key projects, the ones that we are working on right now. The first one is a community innovation program, which is designed to address challenges inside a community in a sustainable and truly democratic way. Examples of the way that we do this are manifold, from addressing urban environment regeneration to creating economic opportunities for the communities through projects based on art and science, and among other possibilities. So the program itself is youth-led, meaning we work hand in hand with youth inside of a community, but that also doesn't mean that they are the only ones who participate in the whole process. Quite the contrary, actually. The program is designed to connect through the whole process with experts, academics from many institutions like universities, government, private sector, and community champions or important community figures such as elders or influencers. There's this quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says, "Knowing how to think empowers you far beyond those who know what to think." And we really like that idea. So the program itself is designed through an integral approach that can help us address community challenges by really getting in deep on the roots of a problem, understand what the problem repercussions are. And at that point, you can start developing or creating ideas to solve those problems. One of the things that we've also encountered is that more than a program, many of the young people who have participated in this program describe it as an experience where they are exposed to different stages, such as the one we call Reboot Camp, where we have drills and team building exercises to prepare them physically and mentally for the task at hand, the solving of the community challenge. And this also reconfigures their idea of what they can accomplish as a team, together. And we really like working with youth from different communities so that their so-called differences become enhanced, but then they discover that they are really not so different and they can really actually work together to solve the challenges that they face. Of course, this also works as a capacity building model for those young people, so that those who undergo the whole process, they can replicate it again and again throughout their lives. I also want to mention that each iteration of the program is adapted from its inception to fit the needs and characteristics of a specific community. So the program is never the same because we know that no community, no city is ever the same. And this is an amazing asset that we want to capitalize on. So then there's WeLab, which is our second main project. Okay, so I talked about how the community program is designed to have different types of activities. Well, in order for those activities to have their full impact and the whole process for it to be exploited in its entirety, each phase of the program is supposed to take place in a unique space designed for it. This is where WeLab comes in, which is a community lab complex that also works as a sustainability hub. Think of it as a school inside or mixed with a university, mixed with a fab lab, and mixed also with a sustainability hub. So it has elements of all of them. So in this way, we can actually create an environment that continuously nurtures creativity, curiosity, and wonder, sort of like a small oasis inside of a community. A place where, while on one space, people can sit and discuss urgent subjects of the community and of the world. In another, there can be people experimenting with ideas and creating, things and, art. And all the while, others can learn and apply sustainable food and energy practices that feed the whole operation of the complex. So in a certain way, our methodology, Culturans' methodology, is the blood and life of WeLab, and the heart that pumps the blood is the community program. So what do the projects that can come out of this whole program look like? Well, there are many possibilities. So let me share just a few of them with you. Okay, so for this, for example, is a community development project, which was created through this program. The participants were the youth from the National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM, and a community neighborhood of a place called El Paraíso, which is in Iztapalapa, which is one of the most conflictive areas in Mexico City. and also with partnership with the municipality of Iztapalapa in Mexico City. And this was an urban regeneration project with urban farming modules, health and commerce stalls, and even the reconstruction of a sport playground area for the youth in the community. We also can create projects that address heritage through art. This in specific was called Caracol de Viento. It is a heritage and cultural project. It was the result of a creative program between urban, indigenous, and non-indigenous communities in Mexico to promote Mesoamerican cultures, which are the traditional cultures, indigenous cultures here in Mexico and in various parts in Latin America. So the project itself was created around the idea of promoting those traditional indigenous ideas and culture together with modern sustainable methods of energy and water recollection. Also, those things that you see people moving in the presentation are these mechanisms that we built inside of it, which you could play with them and learn about the heritage and about the cultures that first originated here in Mexico. So it was a kind of a play-learn experience for all the people. We can also make products that address the creative industry, that become part of this creative industry. Pavilions, experiences in public spaces that promote culture and identity, that can participate actually in international festivals, such as this project that you're seeing here. We were invited to present it at the London Design Biennale and other places too, like the Nuit Blanche there in Toronto, and also the Biennale de Venecia. What we find really interesting about these projects is that we can really take an idea that originated from the community itself and take it into a different product that can not only enhance the community, but promote the community in other places that can be inside of the same country or outside internationally. And in the same stem as the previous project, we have this. We also have this public art and culture tourism project, which is called Mexico City Room. It was commissioned by the government of Mexico City to promote the tourism and identity that the city offers during the Beijing Design Week in 2019. So we did a program with different communities here in the city. And throughout the program, people from all over the city with diverse ages and backgrounds proposed moments and places that best represented the city for them and that they wanted to share with people in Asia. So the result was a rich and an encompassing portrait of the city represented through these 122 selected moments. It was colorful and interactive, and this was one of the first times we started using AR technology to enhance the experience of all the people that went inside the pavilion. So you can see these little squares with images in them. You could scan them with your cell phone, and you could see like different videos about the city, sort of like small documentaries that told you the story of that particular place and why it was selected by the community to share. So we have been, the way that we like to work is through different models. It really depends on who the client is, or who the person that wants to work with us is. But so we have many instances where we have worked with the government or institutions, private institutions or public institutions, or different types of organizations like universities and such, sharing knowledge and working towards solving these community challenges. But for us, the main thing always is to find a community and really design the whole process, the whole experience of Culturans, that Culturans offers to that specific community, taking into account their needs and their specific challenges. So yeah, just to finish off this whole presentation, we think that it's very important to understand that no plan at a macro level will ever work. There's big plans that involve several countries or even a single country with different provinces and such. It will never work for us if we don't address also the local action and creativity. And also if we don't join efforts and create symbiosis with different organizations that serve those communities. So I wanted to close this whole thing with this little quote that we love, that really exemplifies the type of feeling that we want to inspire in young people, which is life without heroic deed is no life at all. So we want really to inspire young people to be heroes of their community, heroes of their countries, heroes of what they believe in, and fight for it. So thanks again. And if you have any questions, please, I think we'll address them later.
Wow. Can you just drop your mic?
Come on, don't make fun of it.
No, that was, dude, that was great. That's incredible. Yeah. I think this event was meant for Nova Scotia, but I think it's so important to have outside perspectives, right? And to be able to see like what is possible and what you guys have been doing in Mexico, like that's going to inspire us, right? And that's why we're here. That's why we wanted to create this event, so that you could share, we could share. There are organizations out here that would definitely be stronger if they were working together. And so to have you here sharing with us some of your experience and your knowledge in this space is absolutely incredible. So just Juan, thank you for that presentation. Thank you for coming. We're now going to transition into a bit of a Q&A conversation. And so Juan, if you could stop sharing your screen, I will now take us into gallery view, and so that folks will be able to see all the youth panelists and presenters as we go into this conversation. Yeah, still a little blown away. I guess I have a question for you, Juan, as a follow-up to that, and also encouraging everyone in the audience to ask a question. Either put your hand up or type it in the Q&A bubble at the bottom there. We'll try to get to as many as we can. But my question after that presentation is, like, what can you share about can you share more about the engagement process that leads to creating something like a WeLab? And you also mentioned catering it to the local place that you're working in. So could you just share a bit more about like what that process actually is, what it looks like, how long would that take? What does that look like?
Okay, yeah, thank you for the question. And I'm reading also the comments here of you guys. Thanks a lot for all the comments. We're really interested in hearing what all of you guys have to say about what we have been doing, or if you have more ideas or stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if I can share my screen again for this part.
To
answer this.
Yeah, for sure.
Great, thank you. So let me just.
Jeff has already called dibs on wanting a WeLab in his community, number 2.
Oh, amazing, great. We'll be very happy to do so. So yeah, to answer your question, what you can see here on the screen is kind of a very technical, complicated, description of the whole process of creation that we have here in Culturans. This is like basically a kind of a roadmap of the whole methodology. So I'm going to quickly go through each of these steps so you can get a better idea of what each of the steps involve. I know you may have a lot of questions. I can gladly ask them later, answer them later, sorry. So, okay, the first stage, as you mentioned, involves this this process of finding and getting to talk to a specific community, finding out what their challenges are, what they want to do, how do they view themselves, and what they want to be in the future, their identity, stuff like that. And start designing the whole process to address those needs and those desires. This involves things also like we've had different experiences. For example, in when we did the project in China, excuse me, we had a little version of this over there, and what we did was we found people that spoke Chinese, and we designed the whole process in Chinese so that they could be really involved in the whole process. So we can totally do that. For example, we've worked in English, we've worked in Spanish also in the whole of Latin America. And the idea is to design with the community how the whole program is going to be. The second stage is once the community is found and all the things are have begun to prep, we begin this this creative reboot, we call it, which is kind of a whole space to prepare the mindset and team building of the young people who are going to be involved in those activities, and this R&D preparation. For the whole process to really work, we want to what we've seen that works actually is that we kind of make this space of redundancy and of experimentation before the actual work begins, so that people can get accustomed of how to work with each other and what the dynamics of solving social challenges or climate change challenges or something, what those challenges involve. Then we have a sort of like an ideation stage. I'm sorry, I just realized I didn't mention any time frame in those in those examples. So the first stage where normally what we do, again, it depends on what the community is and what the problems that we want to solve are. Normally what we do is we look into something for the preparation about around 6 to 8 months of preparation and finding the community and really talking to them. For the second stage of the creative reboot, we're looking into, again, something like 6 months, where all the team building activities and the really physical and mental activities take place. We want them to really have this experience of sort of like learning again what they think that they know about themselves, about their counterparts, about their own community, and then have a blank slate of young people that can then start the main process, which begins with the ideation. So in this ideation process, we have this what we call an idea forum, which in the best place to have it is sort of like this agora place, where the Greeks used to sit down and chat about things. The idea is to connect the young people with people from the community and from experts from universities, and talk about literally all of the subjects that can be connected to the specific problem that they want to solve. So we look at it, for example, if we want to solve a problem with the water supply in a specific community, or create an idea that addresses that specific problem, we want to see, okay, the scientific side of it, but also the social side of it, and also, the heritage side of it. What do ancient original people have to tell us about this specific problem? Talk about also maybe even science fiction, trying to get all the things that can really nurture their whole process in this like cauldron of ideas and things. And this is where all the first ideas in sort of like a brainstorm of ideas come out. And then we start the creative development stage, which is, I'm sorry, again, I forgot, the other stage was 6 months, and this stage is the longest one, because obviously it involves, once you analyze the problem, once you know what you want to solve, and you have all the ideas you want to try and solve it, now you got to see if they are feasible, if they are doable, if you can actually make them work with the tools that you have, the means at your disposal. So this is a lot of prototyping, building, experimenting stuff. Sometimes one idea doesn't work, so you turn to the other idea. And we call this whole process a botega. The botega, we take this as an inspiration from the Renaissance, the early Renaissance, where this idea of artist as the one who paints or makes a sculpture really didn't exist at the time, and an artist was more of a specialized worker that could solve all types of problems, from health to culture to social problems. So we think that something like that can really work inside of modern communities, especially now in this day and age, when you have so much mix of different types of people with different backgrounds, and we really want to exploit that. And then the last stage of this whole process is the communication and publication of all the ideas, of all the prototyping, of all the project that came out of this. We select one, we'd really make one kind of a specific prototype, or a really a specific presentation to give to the community to see what they think, and get this final feedback from, because at the end, all of these ideas, all of these projects are supposed to serve those communities. So this would be like their final say into what they believe these things are. And at this stage, which lasts around 4 months, because we really believe in communicating correctly all the ideas that come through, so that nothing gets missed in the whole communication. We can decide at this stage if we want to continue the process, extend it, a couple of years more, a year more, 6 months more, or we can also turn into something like building a permanent version of this whole program inside of that community, which has also happened before with us. So this is where WeLab comes in, the whole complex, all the facilities. Once we take community through the whole experience of the program, most of them want to keep doing it. Most of them see that they have a lot of ideas that don't actually solve the specific problem they were trying to solve, but solve other types of problems. So they want to continue this whole process again, indefinitely in the future. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, I think you answered it. That's great. Okay. Maybe let's get back to gallery view. You can stop sharing now. I think you're muted, Juan.
I think I stopped sharing. Did it work?
No, I think you're still,
yeah,
there we go. Okay. Wow, that was a very comprehensive process. I think it's important to mention that there's a lot of conversation right now in the world around how we build back better. And my question is, are youth a part of building back better? Or are other people building plans and having community essentially follow in line, right? So I think I mean, what you've laid out is a template on how to build back communities. I think this is incredible, and I would love to hear comments or questions from our panelists. If they have any questions or comments for you, I think I just want to create some space. I have some questions for the panelists, yes, and across each other. Like, let's create some space to ask each other questions. But I'll just stop here and just see if any of the panelists have any questions or comments for Juan. Jeff, you have your hand up.
Yes, one of the biggest things in light of corporate or in building and sustainable businesses, you have to understand we on First Nation communities have a deal with 0.2% of the land base based on what Canada's all about. So we're stuck on a small little reservation. So what happened was, and what happened in our story here, remember to a lot of, there's some elders and some people that are very sore, or not sore, but sad and disappointed that the areas where they pick blueberries and gather their medicines is now a Hampton hotel, a convention center, a trading convention center, a market, a Member 2 Heritage Park, a business, a Tim Hortons, 2 business parks, 3 business parks. Actually, one is a double rink arena, Olympic size, one-stop shop. So welcome to Member 2. But what we can do is save the areas, and we have areas beside the Heritage Park that is located for culture and heritage, but at the same time, it's the medicines and the blueberries that we want to save. Now, if you took one little area and built off of that and put the center up around it, and yet all the grass and all the berries will be saved, to me, that would be ideal, and that would be a fit for all First Nation communities. Well, for Member 2, especially because we're actually, even though we just bought 500 acres of land for business, we're running out of land, left, right, and center, and we're just buying land back to build on, but we're growing at a rate that's phenomenal. And our business model is studied around the world. We have ISO certification, ISO 9001. So I think we would be a perfect partner and match, just saying. But that is one of the issues that we see in our First Nation communities, is the land that we're given, we have to build on, and we're running out of that land. So a project such as this would be so helpful. And I think a lot of communities in First Nation communities would benefit. So I think you'd be busy here.
I think one of the nuggets that I got out of what you just said is, while it's a gift to be able to have the land to build on, the structures we're building perhaps need to be adapted to the land as opposed to the land adapting to what we want to build on it.
Yes. Yeah, because we lost a lot of blueberries. We harvest a lot of blueberries, and that's a big medicine. Blueberries and blueberry tea and the medicines that
I'm actually drinking blueberry tea right now from Hope Blooms. Awesome. Anyone else on the panel have any comments or questions for Juan?
I think I have a lot, but I'm still trying to process all of that information. It was so great. So if I'm able to form one question out of the hundreds that I have, I will throw it your way.
Nice. Okay, sounds good. All right. So I mean, I feel like I want to engage with other panelists as well. Alexa, I'll go to you and I'll ask you the question. How could two-eyed seeing affect our daily lives? And to you, why is it so important?
Two-eyed seeing impacting our daily lives. I think it would, in this era of reconciliation, I think it would transform the way communities and people, I think it would encourage kinship and going back to thinking about like kind of going off of what Jeff was talking about, where we're thinking about the trees and the water and the birds and the fruits and medicines as our relatives, that we're but while we're doing that, I just think it would encourage kinship, and it would encourage good relations with people and with everything that's living around us. I think it's just an important way of life. I don't know how to explain it. I'm gonna kind of fun. Let me think on that a little bit more, but yeah, overall, it would encourage good relations, and it would create a framework where Indigenous knowledge is valued at the same regard that non-Indigenous knowledge is valued when we are creating, when we're building our economies, we're building them together. So yeah, let me think about it a little longer. That wasn't the best response.
Thanks, Alexa. No worries. Okay, Kalade, I'm coming to you to ask a question about Hope Blooms. So 2 questions. I want to know, what event during your time at Hope Blooms are you most proud of? And what do you think is the greatest challenge or opportunity that Hope Blooms is facing right now?
Okay, so first one, I've never really thought to think about that. My favorite event, is that the word question?
Or like moment, your favorite
Moment.
moment at
Wow.
Hope Blooms that like really got you like excited, inspired, you like, you know.
There's been a few moments, but I would definitely say a very, very inspiring moment was definitely Dragon's Den. I would definitely say I feel like that
So for people who don't know what Dragon's Den is, maybe give a little preamble to that.
yeah, so Dragon's Den is type of like, if you ever watch Shark Tank, it's kind of like there's like these like millionaires, investors, and you go there and you pitch your business idea and kind of like convince them that your idea is a feasible idea and then get them to invest in you. So it's pretty, well, the Canadian version is called Dragon's Den. So yes, in like 2015, 2014, Hope Blooms, we entered into the kind of like to be featured in Dragon's Den. We made it through the whole like recruiting process. And that was a definitely very, very like a life-changing opportunity, because at that time I was like 13 years old. I was still in junior high. So like I didn't know a lot of kids my age or even my skin tone who like did stuff like that. So it's definitely like a leap of faith type of moment. And I remember specifically like being in the Toronto studio at CBC and it's been like, holy, I don't want to curse on here, but like I was like, holy, like man, like this is crazy. Like we're out here, there's lights, like these big lights on us. We have to go talk to like millionaires, and we're literally kids. So and then I feel like kind of overcoming that and kind of like realizing that holy wow, like we can actually do this. Really kind of it definitely empowered me, and I definitely still cherish that. It kind of like kindled a flame inside me to kind of be like, you know what, you do have the confidence. I do have the ability to kind of like do these things that I would think are kind of like bigger than me or bigger than the world, pretty much. But also that's kind of like a moment I would say was a very life-changing moment for me.
That's
and then your second
incredible.
question,
what was the outcome of being on Dragon's Den? Like, what did you guys get money? Like, what happened?
so the outcome was okay. So we went out there, and the goal was to kind of like we pitched to kind of like get $10,000 with 10% or like 10%. They can get 10%. So it did not end up being like that, and we ended up getting $40,000. So each dragon, they gave 10,000. Each dragon gave $10,000 besides Kevin O'Leary, because he was just being a grumpy old man. And he said that he didn't believe in like social enterprises and like
Wow.
it's not valuable. I was like, okay, whatever. so but yeah, so we got $40,000 with nothing to pay back. It wasn't like they donated towards, so that kind of went towards our greenhouse at the time, which we bought. So that was a very, very great experience to kind of go through. It kind of pushed Hope Blooms to kind of like that next step, and that like kind of like take us from like what we were doing and kind of like start doing things that we really want to do and kind of create impact in the ways we wanted to.
Totally. What I love about that is you said it kind of it kindled a fire in you, you said, and like you felt empowered. So like, man, those moments are special. And like, I'm sure Hope Blooms has done that for a lot of youth, but I mean, that's got to be the goal, right? Of getting youth involved in projects is like, how do we empower them, right? How do we give them that fire so that, you know, now look at you, like you're doing incredible things now. So that's going to lead to my next question, which is, what do you think is the greatest like challenge or opportunity that Hope Blooms has right now?
Okay, I guess I can kind of answer both of those, opportunity and challenge. Start with the challenge. The greatest challenge I would definitely say, wow, would be definitely. I think the greatest challenge would definitely be trying to, I guess, have not. I feel like trying to kind of be consistent in what we're doing, but in a sense of where like it's actually sustainable. It's not just like we're doing it to kind of for accolades or doing it for merits or doing it just to be like, oh, we did this. It's kind of like you're doing it with actually true impact and true and like intentions. And but also doing it in a way that's actually sustainable. It's not like you do it once and you leave and then people are like left with like whatever leftovers you've done. It's not like you leave, those people are, like you said, are empowered to kind of be like, you know what, I can now be a leader in my community. I can be a champion of my community. I can take these steps to kind of like further my community, regardless of like who was there. Like I know that I can do it. I guess that was definitely a great challenge, because that's something that you like even Juan was saying, like each community is different, right? Each person community is different. Each people interact differently. They communicate differently. They experience it differently. They all bring in different perspectives together and trying to kind of like understand their perspective and also respect it, but also make sure that you're actually like, you know what, here's impact, and not kind of like step on people's toes. That's a very challenging one.
You give them, it's
like,
almost like you're giving them the tools in which they can do what Hope Blooms has done.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Kind of thing. Right. And that's a challenge. I think it's always an ongoing process challenge. Biggest opportunity, I would say, is definitely the youth. I would say the biggest opportunity. I feel a lot of people kind of underestimate the youth. And like you gotta realize, these are human beings who are the future leaders. And that's an opportunity, right? Like people think
leaders today.
leaders today, exactly. Leaders today and to be and future leaders. I feel like a lot of people underestimate a lot of like children's abilities and like capabilities they have, and how kind of like fostering that early can really lead to like sustainable and long-term impact that is not even measurable right now, that we don't even know what one kid can do. That one person could make a significant impact in the community or in a nation. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's a big opportunity. I feel like if you can highlight that and kind of like notice that, it's a big opportunity.
Amazing. Thank you for contributing that, bro.
Anytime, man.
Okay, Shantae, over to you. So through Conversations for Change, you've been having a lot of conversations with different leaders in Halifax, influencers in Nova Scotia. What is one thing that you've learned from your conversations that you previously didn't have a lot of knowledge or any knowledge on about before?
That's a hard. Oh, damn. I don't know. The thing about me is that because I am a multi-ethnic child, I chose to force myself into multi-community, multi-provincial, multi-country issues. So I have little things that come in my phone from the news. I have things that pop up on my social media feeds. So it's not so much of like what I didn't know that I do now. It's I'm learning what I'm passionate about and what like ignites my fire, what causes me to go, what creates this big old flame and what turns me into the flame. So I think that's more so of what I do now. Like I'm learning more of what is my fire. But what I've learned, I guess, about myself in general is that I am the flame and I am that big old blaze that goes through and starts the rush fires. Like that is who I am. That is what I am. And that is like what we do as people who are trying to make a difference. I kind of go into all of the conversations with the thought of you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but you teach a man to fish and he can eat for a lifetime. It's the same with the conversations. You have one conversation with one person and that's just one conversation. You have one conversation with one person and you continue to ask them who they are talking to next. The conversation is just going to keep on starting and not ending. And that's kind of just where, that's it. If that answers.
I love that. Well, thank you. I'm wondering if any of you have questions for each other. Or Alexa, if there's anything you want to say. But if any of you, Jeff, do you have any questions for each other?
I gotta leave Kalade alone. I gotta ask him questions tomorrow. So
That's true. That's Kalade's on the next episode for Conversations
conversations for change. Yep.
I just wanted to share. I know people ask about when it comes to land and when we talked about First Nation land and the Crown land, and it may seem a simple concept, but it's actually very complicated. And even Member 2 has a history of just buying. We bought 500 acres of land and then, you know, we have to go through the process. We bought land, we buy land, and then we gotta wait for the process to convert it to a First Nation land to the reserve. So it's a very long process. It's very complicated. As a former band manager and somebody who worked in government as a First Nation level, I've seen many agreements and land claims, not just here, but in New Brunswick. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it's really hard for, I mean, it's an easy concept, it's a simple concept, but it's very tricky, and there's a lot more to it. So I just wanted to share that because somebody asked me that in one of the questions below, which was awesome. But I just want to give a shout out to everybody. Joanne, thank you for that presentation. It was truly amazing. Shantae, good to see you. As forever, love employees. And Alexa, my cousin, she probably doesn't even know, but all of the metallics and all my grandmothers come from Listigosh, so it's good to see my cousin out there. So you're
Awesome.
representing, doing an awesome job. But the two-eyed seeing, a lot of times what I thought was really nice, Joanne, is that how your presentation, how you went into the communities and you asked all the questions. And that's what we talk about two-eyed seeing, is that and where two-eyed seeing breaks down, a lot of times people will say, here's an issue, we want you to look at it, and here's the questions we want to ask you, we want to know. But when you say that, here's the questions, two-eyed seeing is done, because you're already guiding it. But Juan, I like that where you said you went into the communities and you asked, they guided where you wanted to go. So like two-eyed seeing is if you took a concept of building a house or an issue, whatever the issue may be, maybe it was healing, or we talk about collateral healing and collateral damage to our people. But rather than saying, this is how mainstream society heals people, but this is how we do it. And we don't guide them in every way, but we go through ceremonies and whatnot. And there's many different things. So just want to share that with people too as well. So once again, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, that's great.
Could I just comment on a little bit on that?
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, for all the nice comments. And yeah, I just, that's exactly right. We always try to involve the community from the inception of everything that we do, because we, not just because of the fact that we don't want to impose anything on anyone, you know, we feel that true creativity comes even from the places that you never expected. So you never know what you're going to find anywhere, you know. And so yeah, that's what we are committed to do from the beginning. And you know, most importantly, because at the end of the day, the projects that are going to be built are for those communities, and you know, and there's nothing better to really take advantage of those projects than when someone feels that it's theirs, and you know, feels connected to it. And you know, as I was saying at the beginning of this whole of the presentation, was that we really want to inspire this idea of identity and of belonging in a place, in a community. You know, that people have the ability to transform a city or a community into something that's theirs, so that they can stay there and thrive and grow and you know, into the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Juan. We're gonna do a little bit of a transition now. We have one last presenter, but while we're transitioning, I have a poll that I'm about to launch, and so it's open now. So is for the attendees, panelists as well. If you want to respond, feel free to. But while we're going through that transition, I guess I'm seeing a connection here. Alexa, you brought up that you're working on community gardening projects. As we transition, I'm curious to know, like, what have been your challenges throughout since starting that project? Perhaps, like, yeah, what are challenges? What's working really well? And then I'm curious to hear if Kalade and Hope Blooms have any advice for digital Mi'kmaq as you go about your community gardening project. So yeah, curious to hear from you, Alexa, about that.
So as a part of the community engagement and outreach team, my role in this project was kind of scoping out the communities, like in that initial, I was a part of the initial process of scoping out communities, going there, engaging with them, seeing if they're interested, and then that types of thing. So I can't speak to the project as a whole, but I can say from my role and my perspective in my role in launching the project, I think the biggest barrier was trust. So developing trust with these communities to know that, like, we're not just coming in, we're not extracting, we don't want anything from you. And I think that us being a Mi'kmaq organization and me being a Mi'kmaq woman made it a bit easier, but still, like, I think people that are not from these territories, I guess, when they're doing, not even just from these territories, if they're not a part of the communities that they're engaging with, being really mindful of the way that, of the language that you use and the ways that you're involving them in the process. Like, I loved Juan's presentation because the consultation process was so thoughtful throughout, and he made sure to make Culturans made sure to make the communities feel like this was theirs, because it is theirs. So from my perspective in community engagement, I do think that trust factor and making sure that that you make it clear that the needs and the wants of the community come first, and that there's no ulterior kind of motive, I guess, going in. But yeah, it's something I'd have to speak with our garden coordinator. She's always on the road, so but I do see synergy there, and I'd love to be able to have a bigger conversation with Hope Blooms.
Sweet. Okay. We've got our poll for the attendees is going. We've got 13 out of 16 people have answered it. We'll give them one more minute. And Kalade, I'll ask you, what advice would you have for Alexa and her team at Digital Mi'kmaq as they, expand on these gardens across Mi'kmaqi? Any advice?
Man, it sounds like you guys got it down pat. Like, I can't lie. It sounds like you guys are like good. But I feel like that was a very good point. I kind of like, I'm kudos to you guys for being aware of that. I feel a lot of people, organizations, when they try to, like, I don't know, kind of like get into kind of like garden projects in community or anything that's involved with community development, it's like I said before, I feel like it's kind of like they step on their foot. And I feel like you guys are aware of, like, oh, you know what? We're trying to make this for them, and like make them know, let them know that this is like, you guys are the ones doing this. You guys are the ones being empowered to do this. You guys are kind of the ones taking ownership of this. I think that's a great awareness to have. There's nothing else I can really say to that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks. Okay, so now we've got 14 of 16 participants have filled the poll, and very interesting results. I don't know if the panelists, can you guys see the results right now? No, okay. I think once I end it, I'll be able to show it back. I'm gonna end it now. Okay, so now I can share the results. All right, so so the questions were, did you know this? Did you know about sustainable development goals before the event? Most did, yes. Which SDGs are folks working towards? Multiple choice looks like good health and well-being is top at number 1. No poverty comes in. Reduce inequalities. Sustainable cities and communities is huge. And then peace, justice, and strong institutions. Do you think it's important for government to take action on sustainable development? And overwhelmingly, yes. And the question, do you know what government is doing to support sustainable development? No. And I think this is the perfect segue because we have someone here who will share what government is doing and how youth can be engaged. Because again, we're hosting this event, we're having this conversation. There sure will be follow-up. But one thing we want to do is give folks in the audience and folks who will be watching this an opportunity to like do something like what's the takeaway from this, right? And so our next presenter will help us understand what that is. And so it's my honor to introduce Jason. Jason is an Associate Deputy Minister for the Nova Scotia Department of Environment and Climate Change. Jason has been working on the climate change file and energy issues for the province for over 10 years. And so, Jason, I'm going to pass it off to you, but maybe before you jump into your spiel, maybe share with us some of your reflections. How are you enjoying the conversation so far? What are you picking up from the conversation we've had so far?
Oh, I feel so thankful to have been here for this conversation. So I really appreciate the invitation. And I mean, if I could sum up one, there's so many good lessons in here. But if I were to summarize like the one big learning, it's what you all are working on is like this really complex combination of art and culture and community and sustainability and bringing it all together. And like kudos to you for doing that, because that is the hardest thing to do, right? Like it's easy to pick one and make that your area of focus and try to move forward on it, but for true success, you need to be integrated in all of those pieces, and you need to bring people with you. So just really impressed by what I've heard so far. So thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. And so over to you to share a bit about sustainable development goals, and maybe you can share with us what the province has going on, because right now people don't know.
Yeah, no, that poll was very useful and very timely. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So Alfred, you did a really good job of introducing the sustainable development goals that the United Nations has put together. The province itself has its own piece of legislation called the Sustainable Development Goals Act. And while there's a lot of the same principles from the United Nations work, it is part of the province's own piece of work. I linked the legislation in the text box if anybody's interested in reading legislation. Please feel free to go do that. I'll try to summarize as well. It's only 6 pages long, so it's not a massive document by any stretch of the imagination. But just a bit of the background, in October 2019 is when we passed this piece of legislation, and it was actually built off of the Environmental Goals and Sustainable Prosperity Act, which was passed back in 2007. So it's the latest iteration of the province's work on trying to integrate sustainability, the economy, culture, inclusivity, and all those pieces together, and to create some accountability. And this is it's a youth-focused event, so I thought you might be interested. Like October 2019, if those of you who are around remember, September 2019 is when the climate march happened in Halifax, and it was over 10,000 youth marching down Spring Garden Road and around Province House and to Parade Square. I think really catalyzed a lot of the focus of government on the Sustainable Development Goals Act. So I think that there's really good. It's a really good example of how showing up and showing your commitment can really impact the work of government. The legislation itself is kind of overarching and framing. It's got some principles in it. It's got some specific targets that are embedded in there around greenhouse gas emission reduction. So we have some targets in 2030, and we have a commitment to be net zero by 2050. It's some of the most aggressive GHG targets in the country. So it's something that my team and I really need to work hard on making sure that we can deliver. And it also commits to develop a new climate change plan for clean growth that will articulate, how do we meet those really aggressive goals, GHG goals, and also prepare for the impacts of climate change. So right now on those two pieces, the Sustainable Development Goals Act and the Climate Change Plan, we're in the middle of public engagement and consultation on that. So, you know, the SDGA is legislation. Underneath of it, we're going to have regulations that specify here's what our goals are, right? Like that will be in law in Nova Scotia to say we need to meet greenhouse gas emission reductions of X, or we want air quality of Y, or we want solid waste reductions of whatever it is. So, you know, those are what the regulations will do. But the climate change plan is, you know, there's some overlap, gets really into the details. You know, what are the policy commitments? What do we want to achieve? How are we going to achieve it? How are we going to build capacity in our communities? How are we going to involve our municipalities, our Mi'kmaq partners? How are we going to engage, you know, communities that we normally don't talk to? So I'm going to get into a bit of an opportunity that comes out of that, but just to say, cleanfuture.ca is the website. There are multiple ways to get engaged in the individual level, or, you know, as a community or as an organization. You can submit in the traditional way of sending an email. There's also an interactive forum called Bang the Table, where you can just post your ideas, share pictures, share art. There's a phone number you can call, and you can leave a message with your thoughts as well. We've tried to make this as flexible as possible within the current, you know, the pandemic that we're in right now. Whereas normally we try to be out in communities talking with people, we realize that that's just not an option right now. So we're trying to open it up. There are also online forums that you can dial in and be on with your peers or people who are thinking about the same things and have more of a dialogue. And your feedback will all be captured and brought together in a What We Heard report. Just really quickly, under the Sustainable Development Goals Act, I think, Alfred, you summarized there's 17 goals under the UN approach. We have 6 focus areas. They're pretty self-explanatory. There's leadership and sustainable prosperity, cleaner energy, climate change, circular economy, and inclusive economy, and natural assets and biodiversity. It's really pretty all-encompassing. And if you look at the principles within the Act, there's a focus on equity and inclusion. So it's you know, how do we move along this pathway to have a more sustainable province while also addressing, you know, equity issues, making our province more inclusive, which is a really a big priority of government as well. How do we include people in this? And that's why, you know, it's really fascinating to hear the examples today on the integration of community culture, art, and along with the science, and as ways to kind of, you know, demonstrate success or move important pieces of work forward, or, you know, projects and programs. Those are really valuable lessons for us. Outside of just, you know, going to the website, signing up for the session, submitting your ideas, or engaging that way, we really want to create an opportunity to hear voices that, you know, traditionally we don't hear from when government does these types of consultations or public engagement. So we're offering grants to organizations like all of you that are on the session tonight to support more inclusive conversations. You know, for you to do in your own way with your own communities, right? So you approach it the way that works best for you, and to provide that feedback back to government on the work that we're doing under the SDGA. So, you know, if you're part of the communities that we have listed up here, or if you're not part, if your community that you represent or you're part of is not part of it, like, just reach out. Really, this is meant to be a flexible approach to help you facilitate those conversations and give that feedback to us. We really want to hear from as many people in as many ways as possible. What topics can you cover? You can cover whatever fits for you, whatever you think is important to you, to your community, to the people that you're talking to the people that you want to involve in this. It can be broad. It can talk about climate change more broadly. It can talk about very specific things like, you know, here's what I think about electric vehicles. Here's what I think about biodiversity, or here's what I think about like natural solutions to climate change. So, you know, Jeff, when you're talking about the land and the importance of the land and how it's important to your communities and your culture, you know, how can we integrate these opportunities together as the province is developing, you know, the strategies and the plans to meet that. If you want, there's a do-it-yourself workshop kit that's there that you can download and you take a look at. You can adapt to your purposes. It's just meant to be there to help you if you need it, but you're not strictly required to use anything that we've given to you. I should say, you know, the grants that we're offering up to $2,000. If you have any questions, like, please feel free to reach out. Give us a call. There's contact information on the cleanfuture.ca, but it can fund whatever it is that you feel you need to facilitate these conversations. You know, if you need to hire a facilitator, if you need somebody to take notes, if it's an online platform that you need to use. Eventually, we may be in a spot where we're actually able to gather people together in person. So if you need to rent facilities, you know, all I say is please follow public health guidelines. That's very important as well. So again, we're just trying to be as comfortable as possible and flexible as possible with it. Yeah, the application form is available online at cleanfuture.ca. There's an email and contact information that's along with that. The consultation period runs until July 25th or 26th. I forget the day exactly. So we're hoping to get applications in by early July. If you can't meet that deadline, it's not the end of the world. Just, you know, please get in touch with us. Let us know what it is that you're working on. I think what's important is that we want to hear from you. And the only thing that we ask is that you submit, you know, a summary of your conversations in whatever format that you put them together to us. And, you know, we would love to engage you afterwards to talk about what it is that you submitted. So I think that's it. Oh, sorry. How would you feedback be used? I think this is really important. So, you know, there's a couple of different options for that. If you send it in to us, you know, that's feedback that we can review, that we'll want to hear from you about to get the context and the information. You can also share it with the Clean Foundation, which is an environmental not-for-profit who's running our engagement process. They're putting together a What We Heard report, so I think it's important to make sure that all voices are represented in that as well. So if you're uncomfortable with it being included in that overarching piece, then please feel free to just send it in to us. But the feedback really is meant to inform, you know, new goals under the Sustainable Development Goals Act and actions under our climate change plan. So yeah, and so not only am I grateful for being here tonight, I'm really grateful for the strong team of people that are behind me and working with ECCC that have done a lot of the work to get us to where it is. One of them is Simone Sharon. Her email address and her phone number is there. If you're interested, please feel free to reach out to her. There's lots of other folks, Megan McMorris and Sacha Gibson, who some of you may know, who are also really important, play really important roles in this. So I'll stop there. I'll stop sharing, and if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Amazing. Thank you, Jason, for sharing that opportunity. And again, I think there are things that government is always doing, but not always do the citizens know how, you know, what's happening or how to actually get engaged. And so super glad that you're able to join us to give us a bit of a background on, you know, has the province responded to SDGs and you know, what's their plan? And I mean, it looks like this engagement process will fund and allow community members to bring ideas forward in terms of what regulations could look like. So it's really great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've got a question for you, and I guess it's at a higher level, like not super granular, but it's, what does a successful implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals Act look like for you as Associate Deputy Minister? What would you be proud of at the end of the day as a complete act?
Yeah, I mean, sustainable development is such a wide scope, right? Like there's so much that's contained in that, and there are everybody comes to it from their own position, from their own desires, from their own wants. Some people are very passionate about climate change or waste reduction or biodiversity. You know, I would like to see us put together a plan that addresses what's important to Nova Scotians, Nova Scotian citizens, and not just the people that we normally hear from when we do consultation and engagement, but a wide, a good representation of Nova Scotians, Nova Scotian citizens, and especially groups that we haven't heard from we don't hear from a lot. So there's like, it would be nice for us to get to some specific goals that we can articulate, that we can demonstrate to Nova Scotians, like this is what we want to do, and we can be measured against, right? Like, how are you achieving this? How are you able to do that? So I think that, that's item number one. I think item number two for me is inclusion and equity is a key principle of the work that's in there. And I think what I recognize is that, a lot of that is based on building relationships, right, with communities and with people. And so I would love to hear how we can start that work, right? Like relationship building. We won't be able to legislate relationship building, but I think that there's a lot of great things that we can identify as actions that can start that work, like start that good work, make those good connections, create that shared space and that trust. So, hearing from folks on how to do that, what options are out there. And I think, there's a lot of great examples that we heard from today. Those would be two things that I would love to see.
Awesome. Great, thank you. Again, I think it's for our audience, for the youth in the audience, like this is an opportunity to roll up your sleeves and to have conversations in your communities and to have money to do it. We're not asking you to do it for free. To get money in your pockets to engage with youth in your community, maybe elders in your community, about what this all means for you. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I'm certainly going to be sharing it. And I hope folks in the audience and even our panelists see this as a point of interest. So thank you so much, Jason. Again, really appreciate this information. And I want to thank all of our panelists and our attendees for joining tonight. I think this is the start of a conversation for us, and that includes you too, Jason. Okay, this is the beginning of a conversation for our organizations and for the work that is possible here in Nova Scotia. And I also want to, Juan, what you were able to offer us tonight, I hope doesn't end here. I think this is like I said, the beginning of something, and I think we'll truly be able to, as organizations, do something special if we move forward together. So thank you, panelists. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Jeff Ward to put us through some closing words and a closing prayer.
Well, it's a true honor to be among such great, beautiful people, beautiful minds, beautiful visions. And I thank every one of you guys from the bottom of my heart. It's an honor. Also, too, with that, there's studies shown that Indigenous people have been practicing forest conservation since the time of memorial, and that's one thing that when people arrive here, and they said it's paradise because they saw the land, and we learned to live without leaving a carbon footprint, and we still do it today. So with that, I just want to pass on and say this prayer, and pass on good energy to all the ones that your loved ones that are out there. So with this, O Great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds, for hear me now, I am small and weak. I seek your strength and your wisdom. May I walk in your beauty, and may my eyes behold the red and purple sunsets. Make my hands respect the things you have made, my ears be sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may know the things that you have taught your children, the lessons you have written in every leaf and rock. Make me strong, not to be spare my brothers and sisters, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me ready to come to you with straight eyes, so that when life fades like that setting sun, my spirit will come to you without shame. Thank you. It's a true honor.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone. For the panelists, if you can just turn on your screen once more, we'll take a picture and we'll say goodbye to everyone. Alexa, you there? There you are. Amazing. Well, thank you all. Thank you all for joining tonight. And we'll be chatting soon. Jason, we're coming for you. We're coming to you.